The pharmacy is now open.
What is up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of VGRx, your weekly dose of video game news, knowledge, know-how, and everything else in this world. I'm Sick. Hello. And we have...
Nice to meet you, Sick.
Thank you. We have Brittin.
Hey, what's up?
We have Dan.
Yo.
Zach.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And then special guest Torsen here.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, Torsen?
Welcome to the show.
He is
Thank
here to
you.
talk
Thank you so
about
much.
Monster Hunter because he's a pro at it.
Oh boy,
And but we
He
will
says,
lead
"Oh,
up
I
to
don't
it.
know if I don't know if I'm a pro, but what's your hunter rank, real quick?"
it's currently sitting at 100.
Yeah.
Oh my
Is that
God.
Max?
Yeah, does that
no,
count?
not yet. The
Okay.
in previous Monster Hunter games, the max hunter rank has been like 999. So it's
Okay,
really it's nothing more. After a certain point, it's really nothing more than like an obscure number that denotes the insane number of hours that you've put into the game. But yeah, I've stopped playing for the last couple of days and haven't been doing too much, but I'm still probably the highest hunter rank of anyone that I've seen or met.
You got to
so
pace
far.
yourself a little bit.
Yeah, a little
that's
bit.
wise.
The only other people I've seen higher than 100 are like YouTubers and speedrunners.
Yeah. So by comparison, Scott, what's your hunter rank?
24.
Whoa, and you've completed the game, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So, Torsen, you're into some deep end game stuff. then.
Yeah, I am.
He's
The,
past the deep end game
the
stuff.
story mode, the basically the story of the game ends at around hunter rank 15. It will cap
wow.
you at certain points and like slowly. Basically, your hunter rank will be based on how far into the story you are, and then once you hit past 15, it uncaps you, and it's just like normal experience leveling until certain points. So it'll cap you again at hunter rank 29 and give you a quest to complete, and it'll cap you again at hunter rank 49 and give you a quest to complete. And then there's one last final quest at hunter rank 100.
He's
Holy smokes.
he's so far into it, he's forgotten what the story's about.
So we'll dive into that.
Yeah, more.
There will be more.
later.
But for now, let's talk about some news stuff that's been going on.
Let's.
Okay, I'm
Let's
gonna-
jump right in.
I'm gonna hand it over to you then.
Scotty,
Brittin.
right before we started recording, we were talking a little bit about the new Wreck-It Ralph trailer that just
Ooh,
premiered.
Yes.
Let's jump in there.
I-
Have any of the other guys seen this?
Didn't
I-
know that there was another trailer.
I've
Or-
You knew there was a
seen that it
movie coming,
existed.
right?
No, I didn't.
Oh, wow,
That's what I
okay.
mean.
Yeah. I've-
Surprise. I don't know how I feel about it. Scotty seems pretty bullish on it, pretty excited about it.
super
It's
excited
called
for it.
Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Or Wreck-It Ralph 2.
It's not actually called Wreck-It Ralph.
It is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
In the corner, there's a little ding that
right,
says
all
Wreck-It
right.
Ralph 2.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's clear from the title what this movie's all about. It's about the internet. It's not about this quaint arcade scene and the characters in their games intermingling. It's a much bigger scope. And my fear is that it may lose some of its video game centric charm in that transition.
No, not at all.
I mean,
Okay,
as
go-
long as we get like a pose of Ralph in a Kim K, like
There's
breaking the internet.
There's so much way too on the nose video or internet humor in this.
Do you
There,
think
there are
there's gonna be
memes.
me- Yeah, I was
There
gonna
are
say.
there are listicle references.
I mean-
there's references to all kinds of websites like
Could it
eBay
be
and stuff
as
like that.
bad as the Emoji Movie, though?
No,
Hey,
No.
okay.
Yeah, that's at least
look,
it's safe
I haven't
from-
seen that.
on
I shouldn't say, but I can.
I
assume
have
it.
seen it, okay? I took one for the team, and I saw it. It's not as bad as everyone says.
All right.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I can't like absolutely refute that. But
It's a movie about emojis. There's literally not much else to it.
I mean, not as bad as everyone thinks. It's a pretty low bar to set. So
You're not selling us on it, Scotty. We'll just take your word for it.
Okay, then we'll talk more about Wreck-It Ralph 2 then.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay. So, despite the fact that it may be transitioning at least partially away from the video game theme that the first one had, these characters are fantastic and they're so endearing. They're so well acted. I'm on board no matter what. It's
Me
going to
too.
be funny. It's going to be awesome. I just really, really liked the tone that was set with the first movie.
I hope I cry at the ending like I did
So,
for the
I mean,
first one.
It was touching.
not having seen the trailer, is it clear from the trailer that it's not about video games anymore? Because clearly,
Yes, I'm
video
based-
games use the internet.
I'm
I mean,
basing this on what the trailer shows.
Yeah.
Essentially, the owner of the arcade that the first movie took place in hooks the power strip up to Wi-Fi, and so suddenly everything in the arcade has access to the internet.
Yep.
And the trailer
God
shows
bless.
Ralph and Vanellope strolling through the the main hub terminal and
Of Wi-Fi,
and they
yeah.
see this new area that
The
says
fir-
Wi-Fi,
the
and they
first-
jump into it, and then
yeah.
they're on the internet.
Yeah, one of the first places they go is eBay. So
Right.
if that's any indication,
Okay.
yeah.
And
no, I see what you're saying now.
Did
Yeah.
you catch any video game references in the trailer? Because
Yeah.
it seemed like they replaced everything video game in the first movie with everything
Children-
internet reference.
Children's apps.
Yeah, that's.
Those
I guess that's the
literally-
one
yeah, like
thing.
gaming apps and things like
Yeah.
that.
So
God
we'll
damn.
I mean, we'll see. You know,
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a good movie. I think.
I can
I don't know
see-
that it'll recapture the magic, but it's gonna
No,
be fun.
either way,
Shut
they
up.
keep the tone and they keep the like characters and things like that. It'll be funny. It'll be quirky. It'll be everything that the first one.
Yeah,
probably
they
was.
do seem very much themselves in this, so I shouldn't be too worried. But I really like that first movie. I've seen it many times. My
Same.
kids love it too.
I saw it 5
Yeah.
times in theaters
And
and
it's just-
countless times on DVD.
It-
High five. Oh wait,
Dan, you have a question?
What?
No.
What?
You
Why
have a
were
comment?
Zach has looked like he's wanted to say something for like
Oh, sorry,
minute and a
Zach.
half now.
No.
Zach,
It's
go
nothing
ahead.
important. But I was going to say there's probably going to be multiple offshoots from this
What do you mean?
You
going
think so?
forward. Yeah, I'll follow through. Like,
You think there's gonna be
Time.
like more movies?
yeah,
No,
definitely.
God, I hope not.
Yeah.
You want to know what I do?
They're
hope,
going to
though?
milk it. They're going to milk it as much as they can.
I
What do you
it's-
hope, Scotty?
I hope it's in Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's such a perfect fit for that.
That
It would be
does make
amazing.
sense,
It better be.
actually.
It would.
How could it
It'd be
not be?
fantastic? Okay.
Here's something I kind of want to start doing, maybe on a regular basis on this show. Every month, at the beginning of the month, new games are rolled out for PlayStation Plus.
I thought you were about to say Switch. I was gonna be like,
Yeah.
shut
No,
up.
well, maybe down the road. Who knows? Their online system is coming soon.
you
and
mean
then,
like they're free games, like
right.
of the month? Okay.
Yeah, and then Games with Gold, the new games that are free on Games with Gold.
Yep.
And I figured it could be a chance to both, give people a heads up as to what they can go out there and download for free, but also maybe a chance for us to talk about some of the games that we've played and can either recommend them or say steer clear of this because
Yeah.
it's absolute junk. So I'm going to pull up a list. Let's start with PlayStation,
Okay.
the new games that are coming this month to PlayStation Plus. Loading, please wait.
So when I by the way, this is a funny story about that because I totally forgot that they do the same thing that Xbox does with their like free game with PSN or whatever it is. So when I got Monster Hunter, I got my like 3 months of PSN. I was like, I totally forgot I get a bunch of free games now. I was like,
Yeah.
this is sick.
Jump right in. It's a good time too.
I still haven't taken advantage of that yet.
Really?
I also got PS4 Plus
It's just
when
free
I got
stuff.
Monster Hunter, and like I haven't taken advantage.
There's
of any
also
of that.
this effect where it's kind of like maybe a glut of free games makes no games that appealing to you because there's just so many of them. There's new ones every week and they're free, so you have less incentive to spend time with them because you didn't shell out any money for them.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some good ones here though. Bloodborne tops the list. That's kind of the headliner.
No way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that. Although I saw that like Dark Souls 3 was recently available somewhere as well. I can't remember if
Was
it
it
was
free?
also for. I
Okay.
can't remember if it was also for PS4.
It is headlining the Humble Bundle right now
That
on
was
PC.
that must have been what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Humble Bundle for Dark Souls, and like I feel like
That's a screaming deal.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
too good of a deal to pass up. And I don't know if anyone who got that would really want to go get Bloodborne on
They're
top of
they're
that,
pretty different
but,
games. Have you
yeah.
played both of them, Torsen?
I have not. I've only played the Dark Souls 3, and that was by far like
Okay.
blew me out of the water.
Okay. It's
I've
tough.
heard good things about Bloodborne, but
I've played every game in the series multiple times. I really like this series. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. And Bloodborne is different enough to where if you have beat your head against Dark Souls and maybe determined for yourself it's not for you or you don't dig it, I'd still recommend people try out Bloodborne. It's a much faster pace. The combat is less about maybe building a heavy armor set, cowering, hiding behind your gear, and more about being quick, being deft, being adaptive in combat, moving around a lot, stunning your opponents instead of just getting out of the way of attacks. So there's a lot more versatility in the combat. It's a faster pace, which in some ways is a little off-putting to a longtime Dark Souls fan because it does feel so different, but it's cool in its own way. And if you haven't checked out anything in the series, totally worth checking out because it's an entry point into an awesome set of games. And even if you have tried Dark Souls and you're not crazy about it, it's worth jumping in and trying this out too.
cool.
I downloaded, or I didn't download it. I bought it for like Black Friday like 2 years ago, and it's still in the wrap like at my house. So I mean,
Now you can download. You still don't have to unwrap it.
now I can download it and then play it, and then just have another physical copy sitting in the
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
why not?
But I like physical copies, so maybe I won't download it just to spite you.
That's weird.
Just to spite you.
Why do you want to waste all that space?
I don't know. They look
And
good.
manufacturing facilities
they
and
look-
cost and time. It's
They
just
look good with dust.
so wasteful. Next on the list is Ratchet and Clank, the remake of Ratchet and
Oh,
Clank.
boy.
The first one? Or, no,
It's
they
a,
already made
it's
the
a
first
full
one.
remake of the original. It came out
They literally just
a year
did-
or two ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say they literally just did
It's
that.
it's that
Oh, it's
game.
free.
It's
Sorry.
free now. It's not just coming out. It's free now, Scotty.
I forgot we were talking about.
You'll
free
have to
games.
get used to this segment because
know.
it's a little different from
I know.
anything we've tackled before. But
crazy.
I
It's all
want to
digital,
stick with it.
so-
It'll be like once every 4 shows. It's a monthly thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Ratchet
a fun.
and Clank. Did
Yeah,
you ever
so-
play it?
I have not played Ratchet and Clank at all.
Okay, I've played every Ratchet and Clank.
Okay.
And I love the games. They're a lot of fun. I think.
Did you play this remake?
I didn't play the remake. I played the original, but I'll probably
Okay.
download it and play it.
Well, now you can.
I know now I can for free, mind you.
Mhm.
And probably one of my favorite Ratchet and Clanks though was Up Your Arsenal.
Okay.
Those
What was that on?
it was on PlayStation 2.
Okay.
It was like kind of they did the same thing as Ratchet and Clank 1, but they had like an arena type thing, and you would think that those would get boring, but the more powerful weapons you get and you just explode everything in like one shot, it's really satisfying.
All right.
Everything about Ratchet and Clank is just very, very satisfying.
It's pretty too, right?
Yes.
It's very colorful, very
Yeah.
cartoonish.
Think of like Jack and Dexter. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
same look, just not as dark almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played both Ratchet and Clank and Jack and Daxter, but
Wait, you play video games?
oh yeah.
What?
We're over
I'm
that.
surprised.
Sometimes I forget it.
Zach knows what he's talking about.
You're right.
Come on now.
Brittin, how about Breath of the Wild? Anyway,
Never heard of it.
Zelda 2.
Zelda
The rest of this, usually there's a 1 or 2 big headline games, and the rest is kind of just smaller, maybe
games?
I don't want to say throwaway, but less
they are.
less noteworthy titles. Legend of K, which I
Okay.
think is a PS1 game that was ported to PS3 or something like that. That's coming for PS3. Mighty Number 9, which is the tragic modern incarnation of Mega Man.
Nice tip of the hat to
boy.
Mega Man, but nothing
Yeah.
else more.
Yeah, I mean, Mega Man's still around and doing cool things, and this was kind of supposed to be like a reincarnation of the series almost from Keiji Inafune, the original creator, but it just did not turn out the way anybody was hoping it
I
would.
think it was like, it wasn't just the fact that it didn't turn out. I think if it just didn't turn out, people wouldn't be as upset, but it was crowdfunded, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so
It
this was completely-
and it missed a lot of deadlines. It missed
it was held
features that
back.
were supposed to be in
That
it.
game's history just has. It's just such a can of worms. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
if you're interested, by all means, go and look it up. Maybe we can do a segment on it at some point. But it is.
It looks rough.
I think it was just the fact that it was crowdfunded is what
that's-
made everyone
That's
mad
one of
about
the
it.
bigger parts. Yeah.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
not that ambitious of a game either, though, so I
No.
don't know why it would have had so many struggles.
I don't know.
Claire, which is probably like a survival horror game. I don't know much about that. That's free this month. And then
Riveting.
Bombing Busters, which just sounds like the most noteworthy title. of
What
them
is
all.
it?
I don't know.
Of
I don't have
those
descriptions
four,
for these,
I've
unfortunately.
only heard of Mighty Number 9.
And it's
before.
going to be like that. Like the headlines
Okay.
will probably be the big ones, and the rest will kind of just be throwaway. Also of note, this month, Sony announced along with this press release that they're not going to be including Vita and PS3 games as part of the PlayStation Plus lineup anymore.
Yep.
So from here on out, it's all PS4 titles, which is
Or
probably
whenever the new
wise decision.
PS5 comes out that everyone's
Yeah.
been going nuts over the last month.
How many
Everyone-
years are we thinking? It's got to be at least
It's-
2 more years
Yeah,
out.
it won't be for a while. Everyone, I don't know why, but this last month, like, it blew up again. It's like it comes in waves. The internet's like, "Hey, PS5's coming," and then everyone's like, "When?" And there's
don't
no
get-
answer, so everyone says, "Ah, forget it." And
People
then-
just like to talk.
Yeah.
People like to
Oh,
get
yeah.
excited about nothing and
Oh, yeah,
theorize.
for sure.
Speaking of new
Analyze.
consoles, something that's always confused me is the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X different consoles, or is it the same console with just more graphics? And
I think you're in the wrong line of
output?
work here. You know you're on a podcast about video games.
I know.
You should know these things.
But it's
man.
something
we
that's
should have
all-
this hammered down.
it's something that's
we
just
need
really
to be
confusing.
the authorities on
answer
this.
my question. That's all I want.
They play all the same games.
Okay.
But the X, like the PlayStation 4 Pro,
Uh-huh.
is
They are
much more
different-
powerful.
They're different consoles.
Okay, it's
higher resolution.
it's kind of like when the DS and then the 3DS came out. No one thought
No,
that
no.
they had to get like a 3DS and there was
No,
exclusive
I
games.
would say the
different.
comparison between like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro is kind of more.
Yeah, that's
apt.
Okay, so it's
very
the same.
similar.
It's the same console then. Got it.
I would say so. Yeah,
I would
don't
say
know
so,
how
too.
if it's like setting the world on fire in terms of sales. I don't know if
Hey,
it's like
man.
reignited people's interest in Xbox.
I'm
but
I'm fine with my original Xbox One X with my Kinect, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
you're still rocking a Kinect.
Yeah,
Ew.
I mean it's collecting dust, but yeah.
Did
I
you
am.
ever play
Scott,
The
is
gun
a dust
stringer?
collector.
Yeah, I collect a lot of dust.
the one?
What?
and amazing proof of concept for the Kinect that I ever played was called Gunstringer. It's the coolest game. You would hold your hands up like you're controlling a marionette, and your character was a marionette on screen. And it was kind of like a side-scrolling shooter, but you'd move them around like you're holding up a marionette. And it was really cool. And there was live action stuff worked into it too, like FMV.
And riveting.
That was a cool game. Well, you have a Kinect. I'm just trying to give you something to play on it. That's all.
I had nothing I ever wanted to play on it, nor did I care enough about it. So
Yeah, no, you're probably right.
it only watches me while I'm naked, so that's all that matters.
That's why you bought it. You said
Yes, queen.
that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm moving on to Xbox here,
Okay.
and I'm just going to plow right through this because
Yeah.
there's not much noteworthy here. Trials of the Blood Dragon,
Okay.
which is a motorcycle game modeled after the Far Cry
Wow.
3 expansion Blood Dragon.
You wouldn't think that would be a motorcycle title based on the name. But
No, it's-
there you go.
It's weird. It's a side-scrolling motorcycle game.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like a side-scrolling fighting game.
Yeah, I don't know.
Super retro.
I haven't
Yeah.
played it. Super neon, super colorful. Super Hot is the next one. I think that has something to do with Hotline Miami.
Not
Maybe
at
the same
all.
developer?
Not at all.
Am I
do you,
wrong?
Do you not know what Superhot is?
I don't. I
Okay,
don't.
so it's a game primarily. I don't know. I've played it on VR. It's primarily best on VR. But what it is it's kind of like a slow motion, almost like an action game. You like pick up guns or weapons. You have to like kill enemies before they kill
Oh,
you.
is it that super minimalistic
Oh,
one?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like the
Yeah.
polygon type thing.
That
Okay.
actually would be worth picking up, I think.
Yeah,
If
that
you own
looks
an
super
Xbox,
cool.
I'm glad you
uh,
clarified. I didn't realize.
It's,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of YouTubers playing it, or did when it was like released, and it looks pretty good. I've seen it on Steam
Because you have
recently.
that slow motion bit, and then at the end, does it play it all in like full speed? At the
So
end?
okay, so when you move, things start going faster. When you're not moving at all, time stops.
It's real time and turn based.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm sure you've heard of like people going like super hot, super.
I have now.
hot. Okay, well that's like their.
Could you just
thing.
do that for the rest of the show?
No, I won't. I refuse. But it's primarily supposed to kind of be this is powerful VR tech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're holding because I've played it in VR. When you're holding the controllers, you're able to like pick up guns and shoot them and feel like you're actually doing it. So I don't know what it's like doing it on a controller.
Mm-hmm.
So I might go pick it up just to try
Oh,
it.
from what I've seen on
Interesting.
Steam, it definitely looks like it would be worth picking up even if you don't have VR.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be.
Looks like a really fun game. If you're into the kind of like, feeling like you're a ninja or some kind of
And who
god
isn't?
amongst
Yeah.
worlds, yeah, like then definitely go pick it up.
Cool.
Yep, for
Okay.
sure.
Brave, the video game, which I assume is based on the movie Brave, the Pixar movie. Get your Pixar fix. Hey, if you have kids, they might want to check it out.
Are you gonna download it?
Nope.
You don't have an Xbox.
I
you?
do have an Xbox.
Is yours collecting dust too?
I just don't know if it still functions. I haven't turned it on in a year and a half.
I meant like an Xbox One, not like an original.
No, yeah,
Xbox.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I don't
got
know
it.
why, but I do have an Xbox One.
Wow.
And then
Interesting.
the final game this month is Quantum Conundrum.
Ooh, so
Which
the
is-
Portal remake.
Yeah. Well, no.
The Portal.
Careful.
Sorry.
Yeah,
the
tread
Portal.
lightly.
The Portal successor, or
Sorta. Yeah. It was
based on
led by
one of the developers.
one of the lead developers from Portal.
Yes.
Went on to make this game.
Yep.
And it's a first person puzzle game similar to Portal, but it has an entirely different set of mechanics
Yep.
than
No
Portals.
portals.
Yeah. Right.
You can't infinitely portal yourself, which is half the fun of Portal. So
So it's probably cool.
yeah, of course. I
so-
get that.
Some stuff worth checking out there, I'd say.
Yep.
Hey, did any of you guys? I linked this to you all in chat earlier this week. Did any of you guys get a chance to watch the Super Mario Super Medley?
No.
No.
We'll watch it right now.
It's
Hang on.
brilliant. It's fantastic. It's 20 minutes long, so you'll
Oh,
have to do it on
maybe
your
I
own
won't
time.
watch it right now.
Does anyone know who Family Jewels is?
I can tell you what Family Jewels are.
I'm so excited to tell you guys
Okay.
about this because you all need to check out both Family Jewels and this particular compilation because it's awesome.
Okay.
He's been doing video game music covers for a long time. At least 4 or 5 years is how long I've been listening to him. He's a young dude. He's probably in his early to mid 20s, and he'll play all of the guitar parts of a video game cover that he composes himself and then weaves them together. So he'll do lead, rhythm, bass, and kind of weave it all together. And then he uses drum machines in the background and stuff like that to fill it out. But he makes some awesome covers. My absolute favorite thing he's ever done is a DuckTales medley from the NES game. And when it culminates in the moon theme at the end, it is just chilling. It literally gives me chills every time I listen to
that
it.
by itself would be enough for me. So
It's fantastic.
You
So-
love DuckTales, don't you?
Yeah, it's great.
you-
Do you not? You're
I do.
crazy.
I watched the
Okay.
show when I was a kid. I never played the game though.
You should.
Yeah, same.
It's really, really good.
Got it.
So he took on this really ambitious project. He got a group of, I think, 70 artists together that do things similar to what he does across all different instruments, across vocals. And he put together a massive Super Mario Brothers medley that encompasses music from every game in the series history.
Is it like a bunch
every
of,
platformer, I should say,
is
in
it like
Mario's
a bunch
history?
of different YouTubers that he got together, or just like musicians?
You know, I'm not familiar with enough of these people to say. I recognize some of the names and faces as I was watching it, because you actually see them perform when they're doing their pieces.
Is it like
but
Lindsey Sterling a part of it? Do you know? Do you
maybe.
know
What does she play, or
Violin.
does she sing?
She's violinist.
I want to say, yeah. There's definitely violin. There's cello. There's so many musical instruments
the fact
represented
that you don't
in
know
this.
who Lindsey Sterling
I'm
is,
sorry.
it really hurts
I
my
mean,
soul.
honestly, he'd be more likely to know Taylor Davis. Given
I don't know who
given
Taylor
what the-
Davis
yeah.
is.
I did
Taylor
go to-
Davis is another violinist who does cover stuff, but she focuses more on video game and movie music, whereas
Okay.
Lindsey Sterling kind of headed off into her own EDM thing.
What's wrong with EDM, Dan?
There's nothing wrong with EDM,
Yeah, you're
but it's
damn
not
right, there's nothing wrong with
specifically
EDM.
video games.
Okay.
I went to
You
a.
should check it out, though. You'd enjoy it.
I probably would.
I went to a video games live show, and there was a female violinist there that did a cover of Britney Spears' "Toxic." It could have been one of
God.
those two ladies, maybe. Anyway,
I don't know.
So
or a huge number of other people, I'm sure, too.
pretty much every instrument you could think of is represented here, and a cappella and vocals, like
Kazoos?
I said. Ooh, maybe not
Harmonicas?
kazoos. So, including some instruments I could not identify. There was some weird stuff here.
Zuzu-
There's like this thing that
Vuvuzelas?
looks like
Dang it,
a.
now I'm going to have to watch it.
Yeah,
I
I
can
know.
tell
Dan,
what
you
they
would
are.
you would get a kick out of it if nothing else than just for all the instrumentation. But they go through every game in the series, like I said, and it'll show you what game they're playing music from. It'll show clips from the game. It'll say what the game and the music piece are. And then it's just a variety of artists. So I assume he got these people together and said, what's your favorite Mario game or Mario piece of music? And do you want to do a cover for it and be a part of this medley I'm putting together? And it's massive. It's 20 minutes long. It's just hit after hit. You'll recognize pretty much every piece of music in it. And it culminates, of course, with Jump Up Superstar.
Of course.
I don't need to say any more than that. And there's a whole lot of different people doing vocals at the end for that portion of it. It's awesome.
Is it kind of like the thing they played at the Video Game Awards? Did you watched the Video Game Awards, right?
Yeah.
They had like a Nintendo
Yeah, it's similar to that.
orchestra type thing. Okay.
Yeah. Except you're gonna kind of get up close and personal with all these different artists. You'll see them
Good.
up close performing their pieces.
I'll check it out.
It's really cool.
For sure.
Maybe we could put a link to that in the show notes so people can find it. And
I can
check
just
it
like
out.
put 20 minutes onto the show and then just listen to that.
But
So-
part of it is seeing it. Part
Oh,
of the
okay, well.
charm
Yeah,
and the magic is seeing it.
Let's not do that.
You don't want to play 20-minute chunk. Just okay, whatever.
I'm gonna hit a couple more news items and then maybe we can jump into some game discussion.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter.
Or some other things, too.
Yeah, totally. This one caught my eye. I don't know if you guys are going to be interested, but a Final Fantasy ride just opened at Universal Studios Japan.
I'm not surprised.
And yeah, I'm not surprised either. A couple things to note. It's a temporary ride. It's only running there from now until June, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't like a permanent fixture.
Oh, that's really temporary.
Isn't
for a
that
theme
odd? It's
park.
just
Yeah.
a few months.
Do you
yeah,
want to take a trip, guys?
sure. It'd be
Okay.
awesome. I don't have any money. Are you paying?
I mean, never mind. I was going to make a really stupid reference there. I'm really glad I stopped myself.
Oh, good. Thank you for
Thank you.
censoring yourself.
That's a rare opportunity that Scott ever censors himself.
It's
so
true.
that-
I had to think about it. I was like, man, I won't go there.
The reason this caught my eye is it sounds absolutely nauseating, but I would totally do it.
Uh-huh.
It's a roller coaster accompanied by full-on VR.
Oh,
Whoa.
God.
You're wearing a VR headset, you're riding a roller coaster.
That sounds
No,
disgusting.
no thanks.
Instantly
I would-
puking.
I would try it.
Dan,
I would try
let's
it.
do this,
I would try
man.
it like once.
I've-
and then-
Well, so they had a press event there this last week, and they invited people to go on it for the first time and check it out. So I did see some people giving feedback on it, and they were blown away. I didn't see anybody puking in a garbage can, but that may happen for some viewers, I'm sure, because VR is kind of like that. People will have very different experiences with VR. I've tried it once or twice, and I've been okay, but I've heard of people trying it and just being absolutely nauseated by it.
The number of amusing videos of people like falling straight forward.
And,
Just
like,
go YouTube it and
Yeah,
like, lose a couple hours
too
of your
many.
life that way.
I think my eyes would puke if I was on that ride. Like,
It sounds great. The
Yeah.
other thing to note, I guess, I just love thrill rides. If you perfectly synchronize movement and visuals, that effect is mitigated. It's not that funny, Scotty. It really
it's
is.
a really funny thing. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh my god.
Everyone will take a 10-second recess while Scott gathers himself.
God, that was funny.
So none of us will probably get a chance to check this out. It just sounded cool to me. And if this is the future of thrill rides, count me in. It sounds awesome. I like the crazier, the more in your face and out there these ride designs become, the more interested I am.
But the question is which Final Fantasy game?
It looks like it's mostly modeled after Advent Children, actually.
Okay.
There's a very brief snippet of what you're seeing on the ride, essentially, in the press video that I saw. And it's like you're going through Midgar, and Cloud and Sephiroth are having a battle around you.
Awesome.
And I mean, that makes sense, too. It's Universal Studios is about movie things, not video games necessarily.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So if it is Advent Children based, which it looks like, and it is just, it's generically called like the Final Fantasy VR experience or something. It's not modeled after any specific game.
Do you think they'll give us like ridiculously long and giant swords to like swing around as we're on the ride?
Dude, I
With
hope
any
so.
luck.
That would be
Dude,
fantastic.
if that is a thing, maybe I will find a way to get it.
Let's go.
We got to make it happen soon if we're going.
I know.
Clock's ticking here.
Okay, we'll do it.
Can I hand it over to you guys to do some a little discussion about Monster Hunter?
No, we just want to keep listening to you.
Torsen, you're here to talk about Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Scott, you've played a bunch of it.
Me and
I've-
Torsen have played
Zach,
most of it
you're
together, yeah.
moderately
I've watched
interested.
people
I'm
play it
interested. I
before.
haven't played a bit.
It is.
'Kay.
It is fast becoming my most favorite game. So as a disclaimer, I am.
Give us your
1
minute history of games
Yeah.
of just
Oh,
stuff you've
just-
enjoyed in the past and stuff you
Oh,
enjoy
boy.
now, just
Can-
to give a context.
Well, okay.
1 minute.
For context, I think I've recently discovered that my favorite games of all time involve those that have free movement combat. So things that involve like you being able to fully control your character, and anything in which the combat system gets harder and expects the player to improve instead of just throwing better and better weapons and armor at
Like
them
Dark
and things like
Souls.
that.
Very
Things
much
like Dark Souls. Yeah, I love Dark Souls 3. I played the ever-living hell out of that game. And, things like Breath of the Wild, I enjoyed primarily for the aspect of being able to, like, figure out the most efficient way to kill a Lionel.
That's the end game of that game.
Yeah,
really.
like, I have an inventory currently of nothing but, like, the highest tier Lionel shields and
1,000 of
swords.
every arrow type.
Yep,
Every
actually,
single
though.
one in perfect condition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, because I figured out how to kill them without using any weapon durability.
Oh, yes, okay. Love it.
So when it comes to Monster Hunter, I've actually taken quite a huge step away from Monster Hunter until the release of Monster Hunter World. My first Monster Hunter game was Monster Hunter 3 Try for the Wii. And I think I've met a lot of people who are in this same boat, who they started Monster Hunter on the Wii because it was a console game and it was
That's
something.
where I started too.
That's where I started
and,
too,
And
actually.
I know a lot
I
of
just
people
haven't played since
who,
then.
would stayed with the game when it went back to its handheld roots. But there were a lot of people I found. I was a little surprised, but I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. Who they as soon as it left the Wii, they stopped playing it, and they haven't played it since Monster Hunter 3 Try, and they're like in the same boat as me. Because we've been waiting for years for Monster Hunter to come back to console, and it finally happened. So it was a big deal, and it was a big step for Capcom because Monster Hunter is a huge deal in Japan. Probably one of the 4 big video game pillars that like holds up Japan.
Yep.
And that's surprising to some people who are familiar with video games because. Monster Hunter is kind of a niche title in the U.S. or was until now.
Literally until now. It has
yeah.
there's been tons of entries that have been localized, but nothing
Yep.
has caught on even
Yeah,
close to the
absolutely.
way Worlds has.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the last one that did was Monster Hunter Try for the Wii, and that wasn't huge then. It
Well, there was
just-
some 3DS
more
titles that
There
I
was
think did
4,
pretty well.
4 Ultimate did pretty well, and then I want to say 4 Ultimate was like the big one that I almost bought. They did a much better job of advertising in the West, but the reason it's so big in Japan is because Japan is primarily a massive handheld country. They
Mhm.
really like their handheld gaming, and it was a huge deal when Monster Hunter went from the PSP over to a Nintendo console to the 3DS. That was like
Yeah,
that was a huge.
It
that
could
was
have
a
been part of the
huge deal.
death knell for the
Yeah,
PSP as well, right?
It could have been, and it actually could have been like it was a risk on Capcom's part, and it was a risk on Monster Hunter's part, and the only reason they succeeded in that was because early Monster Hunter already had such a huge following in Japan that moving it over to a Nintendo console or Nintendo handheld console, I guess, was something that they were able to do because their fans followed them over.
And I mean, the 3DS is also
and
not
yeah, that,
unpopular there.
No, and the 3DS, that was actually, I think, one of the reasons why the 3DS became as popular as it did in Japan was it was that, and there was several other titles that came out later for 3DS.
Yeah, Pokemon doesn't hurt.
Yep, no, Pokemon.
In any region,
Pokemon
really.
was the big one that was like, all right, cool. Japan solidified as moving from PSP to 3DS.
Yep.
So that was great. So there was a lot of speculation about what it would look like for Monster Hunter World to come out in the United States, especially on console, because they were specifically making a game that they had intended to be for Western audiences, and they were doing it on a console that was not their kind of home, handheld system.
For the past 10 years or so, anyway.
Forever. Yeah. So there was this huge worry of like, if nobody in Japan follows these guys over on console and it doesn't pick up in the West, like this is their last attempt. If this fails, like Monster Hunter's just down the drain, And happily, like if anyone's been following Monster Hunter for the last month, you'll know that is absolutely not the case. I just read an article, actually, Monster Hunter World has become Capcom's fastest selling title ever.
Yep.
In history.
I read
of
that
any
too.
Capcom game.
I want to elaborate on that in a little bit.
Capcom
I
has
actually
a
have some numbers to
history
hit you
of
guys
games
with.
too.
Yep. We're talking Street Fighter. We're talking Resident Evil. There's some very notable franchises that has eclipsed, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I heard some talk before the game actually came out that people that had tried demos and I guess beta and stuff like that it was going to be sort of a dumbed down, westernized version of Monster Hunter.
And that was another concern. Yeah,
Okay.
They were like, man, I really hope they don't take away the core of Monster Hunter just because they're trying to appeal to Western audiences.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the reason Monster Hunter has been such a niche market in the West is because it's hard to get into. Like it's very hard to get into. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to pick up. And it was very good at making you feel like an absolute idiot if you went in there not knowing what you're doing, right?
Yep.
It was a massively steep learning curve. And they did manage to smooth out a lot of the learning curve in Monster Hunter World. They got rid of a lot of the really tedious aspects. Every single person that I've talked to about it, and from what I can see, the general consensus is all the changes they made were very, very good quality of life changes. They didn't actually do anything to change how the game plays or how the game feels in terms of whether or not it still feels like a Monster Hunter title. They kept all of that intact and just made really, really solid quality of life changes that make things not so obnoxious and things that veteran players like are totally used to having to deal with, but anyone trying to step in would immediately be turned off. Like, God, why does it take so long to drink a potion? Like, why do I have to flex after every time I drink a potion and stand still for the monster to hit me? So they've smoothed out a bunch, and they've managed to keep the same kind of feel of Monster Hunter difficulty, which is great. The only thing that people are now waiting for is G rank, which I'm not even sure I really had in Monster Hunter 3 Try. I didn't get to experience much of, but a lot of the Monster Hunters apparently have had G rank, which is
Is that like above S rank or something?
It's a level of Monster Hunter where like after you've beaten everything, you unlock it's like low rank, high rank, and then G rank, where the monsters will apparently just whoop you senseless despite all of your best efforts. So it's basically an extreme level of difficulty that they haven't yet implemented. They've implemented things similar. There's what are called tempered monsters that you can run into now in the late game of Monster Hunter that have the same amount of health as a normal high ranked version of themselves, but they deal more damage.
They're awful. They're absolutely awful.
They can be nightmarish, but from what I've heard, they're definitely nothing like what G rank would be if that were to ever be a thing. There's rumors already that G rank has been confirmed, or it's all still speculation at this point. But
well, they're definitely going to be supporting this game long term, no doubt. Based
So
on success.
Talk about that a little bit. Is there like DLC plan? Or are there events?
So
anyone how's all that going to work?
Anyone who's familiar
forward?
with past Monster Hunter titles kind of will know this already. But Monster Hunter is one of the big things that they're famous for, most well known for, is keeping up with their titles after they release them. The DLC that they release has always been free. They always have a planned release over the course of the next like year or so after any title that they release of just free DLC that they will be coming out with over the course of however long.
On 3DS, that looked like Nintendo costumes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Do you have any ideas what we might see?
So yeah, we've already seen some. It's going to
Horizon
be
Zero Dawn.
We've got the Horizon Zero Dawn outfit. A lot of it currently is PS4 exclusive. So if you're on Xbox, you don't have
Sorry.
a lot of it yet.
No Marcus Phoenix.
Well, because
Dang.
Capcom has that contract with PlayStation with Sony, and in Japan, it's only on Sony.
Okay.
It's a Sony exclusive.
That's because Xbox doesn't exist in Japan.
That's
essentially
it. Yep, pretty much. So right now we've had a Street Fighter event. If you have Street Fighter 5 save data on your console, you are eligible for the event. I believe that the event will be coming out later for people who don't have Street Fighter 5 data. If you want to get it later, it's just an early release. And then we've got the Horizon Zero Dawn event, which released right on release. We got the first of the events, which was to dress up your Palico, your little cat companion, as a monster from Horizon Zero Dawn. As a little like robot watcher. Yeah,
That's
it was super cute and adorable. And the second half of that just came out. Yesterday?
Yeah, like 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
2 days ago.
As of recording this, so it's now you can do a quest called the Proving, where you hunt a giant Anjanath. So Anjanath was one of the main monsters. It's a big pink T-Rex. If you've seen any videos of Monster Hunter, you've probably seen it. It's kind of become the figurehead, but they've like doubled the size of it for shits and giggles.
That sounds
And,
awful.
It sounds like an MMO event, kind of, the way that they're treating this.
Absolutely. The event for Street Fighter, for those of you who have saved data and have done that, it was fighting 3 Great Jagras, 1 normal-sized, 1 super, super small Great Jagras, and 1 double-sized Great Jagras, which was super funny because there's so many great clips on YouTube now of people mounting the small baby Jagras, and it just looks so awkward and
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it was really weird.
When they do these events, can you just play them over and over again, or
Yep.
how does it work? And
Yeah,
it's for a
so
limited period of time.
It's a limited period of time. So for the Horizon Zero Dawn one that just came out, it's for the armor. It allows you to basically, it's a full costume. You can't wear any of the pieces separately. You have to wear all the pieces together. And you craft the pieces like you would craft anything else using tickets that you get as rewards for completing the event. So I think you get like anywhere from 2 to 4 tickets every time you complete the event, and I think you need a total of 9 to craft the full set. So they do intend you to like repeat it a little bit.
I remember doing some hunts in older Monster Hunter games and having to hunt the same creatures just dozens of times sometimes to build the sets of armor that I wanted.
Welcome to the grind
Is that
game.
still a thing
Yes.
in
It
Worlds?
absolutely is.
Okay.
Welcome to
part
the
of the
grind
part of the
game.
reason that turns people off of Monster Hunter is it is a grinding game.
Yep.
You do definitely have to grind out things that you want and search for things, and that very much still exists. Again, they have made some nice quality of life changes. Some of the rarest parts of monsters that used to be, you'd spend days trying to find like a gem from a certain monster, you can now craft separately by doing the weekly events. So there are the events in terms of like the big, like the Horizon Zero Dawn event, and then there are weekly investigations where every week they will change a set of things that they would like you to do. It's something like hunt 5 of these monster or hunt 3 of these monster, and if you complete all of those investigations, they give you this golden ticket, and you can exchange that golden ticket for like a rare piece of any monster that you want. So if you're looking for a gem of a monster and you're just so tired of having to kill this thing for days, do the weekly event, grab a golden ticket, and immediately exchange it for the gem that you've been smashing.
Still takes some work.
But
it
if you
still
need,
takes some work, but significantly less. And
Yeah.
if you've been saving up those tickets, if you've been doing them and say you don't need a gem right now, and you've been saving those tickets, and you're like, oh man, I really want to make this new set, but in order to get this weapon, I need a gem. I'll just trade in a ticket. I don't even need to grind anymore because I've already done the work. So it allows you to do a little bit of planning ahead of time too, which is really nice.
but if you need a
And it
fang
gives you
or
some
anything like that,
variety.
if you need a fang or anything like that, make sure you hunker down and play one monster for 3 days.
Scotty's a little mad because he had me help him farm one of the Elder Dragons for a fang, and I think it took
It took like 2 to 3 days.
I got like double the fangs that he needed before he did.
I was so angry.
Do you still have to target like specific parts of the monster as you're hitting it?
You can.
to get body parts.
Yes
that you
and
need,
no.
or-
So that's another nice quality of life change that they've made. If you need a tail of a monster, you can cut off their tail, and unlike previous Monster Hunter games, well, you'll have a chance of getting the tail if you carve off the tail. You will 100% almost guarantee.
That was so frustrating. You cut the tail off
Yep.
and you don't even get the tail.
Yep, and not only that, there is now still a small percent chance of receiving that part of a monster even without having damage.
Okay.
Damaging the part or cutting off a tail or doing whatever now just increases the odds. With, I think, for tails, almost a guaranteed pull if you are carving straight from the tail. So that constitutes another great quality of life change.
It sounds like really smart design decisions across the board.
It absolutely
None
is.
of which are alienating longtime players or fans of the franchise.
Which is the big, that was the big concern was like, if they do this and they change it too much, how many people are actually going to bother following them over?
Yeah.
And I had a conversation actually with one of my friends who's a longtime Monster Hunter player. And we had the conversation before the game came out. I was like, are you going to get the game? And he's like, I don't know. It just seems it doesn't look like it's what I'm used to, and I'm not quite sure if I want to, spend the money for the PlayStation Plus subscription to play with my friends and all that jazz. And I'm like, it's going to be a good game. I tried convincing him, and I just recently found out that he has caved and has it for Xbox,
of course,
and PS4. I think.
Oh, okay.
So he hasn't. I don't think he's shoveled in the money for the subscription for multiplayer yet, but I know he's at least enjoying it single player.
Oh, is there platform play on this or no?
No,
Between the
it's
two consoles?
cross-regional, but it's
Okay.
not cross-platform.
Got it. Okay.
It's fun though. Like even if you're just playing by yourself, it's still fun to play by yourself.
Oh,
Yeah, that's important
absolutely.
to me because
Yes.
that's kind of how I played previous Monster
Yeah,
Hunter games.
like
And
if
I
you-
guess
if you-
enjoyed.
That's the bit that I heard early, and I haven't played it at all. But the game, as I understand, essentially fully supports full cooperation or full single player, and you can swap back and forth basically as much as you want for the bulk of the
And
experience.
that was another big change that they made to Monster Hunter, because in previous Monster Hunter titles, or at least this was the case with Monster Hunter 3 Try for the Wii, and it's from my understanding it was the case for several others, is that throughout low rank was a single player experience. You could not play with your friends. And then once you got to high rank, that became a solely multiplayer experience, because low rank would take you through the main story of the game, and once you beat the story of the game, that's it for low rank. If you want to do anything else, high rank is all multiplayer. Or with an online connection, you would have to try and do some of the higher, stronger monsters without friends, and that was just
Which Nintendo isn't known for their internet connection. So
yeah, and especially on a Nintendo.
sorry,
platform.
Brittin.
It's
You know it's true.
That's true.
It's-
I still
so-
play Mario Kart 8 online though, and it's great.
It was
so.
definitely possible to make the single player experience for high rank, but it wasn't as enjoyable, and also there was no story. Monster Hunter, and I'm not gonna say that the story in Monster Hunter World is fantastic or phenomenal either. They kind of advertised it as promising much more story. What that actually turned out to mean was that the story carries you through high rank as well as low rank. So
And it's a
you'll-
decent story too.
and it is a decent story. It's a story that basically just has you going out and repeating quests over and over and again.
But I mean-
to an end. But
I don't know. I personally have never thought, I think a good story would make the difference in whether I would buy Monster Hunter. Like, I would buy Monster Hunter because I want to go hunt giant monsters.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
That seems like the point of it. And
kill him with big old cloud swords.
yeah,
absolutely,
is-
yeah.
Switch axe. Come
so
on.
I mean, there were a couple people who were let down because they did promise like this in-depth, crazy story. And I mean, from my experience, the story is good. It's not a bad story. If you're looking for like betrayal and subplot, and you're not gonna find it
In their defense, they did just release a game last year called Monster Hunter Stories for the 3DS, and it's a very story character
There you
centric
go.
experience.
So if you're looking for Monster Hunter
There's that.
plot, yeah, there you go. Go play
Get
that.
the one on the DS.
Yep, I hear it's good. I haven't played it.
It's I don't know. With the amount of Monster Hunter I've played, like just playing with Torsen, like it made a ton of funny moments and just it was a lot of fun. But even just playing by myself, like I still had a ton of fun with it. I know we've been talking about it like for the past like 4 weeks now about like going out and get Monster Hunter, but we highly suggest going to get it. Like even if you don't play it with your friends and you just want to play it by yourself, you can do that. And
I go through phases and waves of like only wanting to hop on to play with friends. I don't think I'll enjoy myself if I'm not playing with friends, to having another wave where I'll spend an entire day like offline only playing by myself because
He-
I'm trying
he
to
actually means an entire day too.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it.
No life it. Let's go.
Absolutely. And one of the great things again that doesn't they I think they made this change as another way to kind of help new players come in is the ability to go into multiplayer right from the start of the game. Which, like I was saying before, in past titles, the whole low rank of the game used to only be single player. You would have to do single player and beat the game before online play was ever even unlocked. And the fact that you can, basically, you have a small tutorial, and right after the tutorial, after your first hunt, they unlock multiplayer for you, and they stick you in a room with 15 other people, and you can go do quests with any of them or join up with your friends. And that I think has helped attract a lot of new players into the franchise and into this game particularly.
Because modern gaming is so based around playing games with your friends.
It really is, yeah. And people, it's almost absurd to pick up a game that has multiplayer capacity and functionality and load it in and have it tell you, hey, you have to beat the game before we let you play multiplayer. And the average gamer would be like, what? Why?
Why be restricted?
Yeah, so they've done quite a few things that, again, like veteran hunters, they were used to having to put up with, and nobody really mind putting up with it.
But it wasn't about the veteran hunters. It was
about the new
people,
players,
so.
and they did a really good job of making sure that anything that they got rid of or anything that they smoothed out weren't things that veteran hunters were like attached to. Everyone, including the veterans, saw everything they did as really great quality of life changes. There were a few things when the game first came out that people were like, what? Why this way? And then after about the first week, we're like, oh no, this is great.
Turns out they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I prefer this heavily, actually.
Well, I guess still thinking about picking it up myself. It doesn't come out for a computer for months and months now, so
yeah, like
that's
September,
whatever.
October-ish for
I'll
computer.
think about it, and we'll see where I end up on that.
Yeah, for sure. So
in
go
the
get
meantime,
Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
I've got
a couple few things.
Well,
left,
I have
think.
some numbers related to Monster Hunter that I wanted to hit you guys with and kind of get your armchair analysis of what, Torsen, you specifically, and Scott, you've played a bit of it too, what you think it means for the franchise and maybe even the future of Capcom all around, because it has hit hard. So in about 2 weeks, the game came out when? January 26th or something
26th,
like that?
Yep.
So I read an article, as of February 12th, it had hit 6 million units sold. Those are huge numbers for a studio like Capcom. Some of the bigger developers out there will dwarf that with their releases, but for Capcom, those are really big numbers. So I pulled the history of Monster Hunter game sales to kind of compare that to previous entries in the franchise, see how it stacks up. It was on PSP exclusively for a while, and the biggest seller on PSP was Monster Hunter Freedom 2, and that came in at about 6.2 million. These are lifetime sales, so that's overall that it sold in the life of that game. The next big hitter was Monster Hunter 3 on Wii and 3DS. So I assume that's the combined sales for those two platforms. Monster Hunter Freedom 3, which was another PSP title, just under 5 million.
How many Monster Hunter 3s were there?
A lot.
I see at least 6 on this list.
Look, you throw an extra word at the bottom of that 3. It's a brand new game.
They were pretty
brand new.
notorious for being,
Yeah.
Monster Hunter 3 Try was the one on the Wii. There was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate released, which was basically the same game with more endgame content for the Nintendo.
Yeah, a lot of these are probably more like remasters than new games.
They usually will re-release a game with either like more variants of monsters or more endgame content and things like that, and just slap a new title on it.
Yeah, makes sense. And Monster Hunter 4 was one of the early 3DS games, or mid-life 3DS games. That one actually hit 8.3 million over the life of that game, which is, it's getting up there, but again, keep it in frame of reference here, 6 million in 2 weeks. It's definitely on track to outdo that. That's actually the best seller in the entire franchise of Monster Hunter 4 on 3DS. Yep.
Because that was their big move when they moved over to 3DS, and that was the closest they've gotten to attracting a Western audience, from my understanding.
Okay.
That was when most of the people in the US, if you ask, like, what was your favorite Monster Hunter game? What Monster Hunter game did you play? It's like, oh, Monster Hunter 4 on my 3DS. Because I think that's when 3DSs were also kind of starting to become a little bit more popular as well.
Yep.
And it was easy to get your hands on too. Like no one had a PSP. Like I didn't know a lot of people who did.
And no, they didn't sell a ton of PSPs or Vitas for that matter. Did
think-
this series ever come to Vita? I'm not seeing
What's
any
a
on
Vita?
this list.
No.
I don't think
No,
it did because
think
it was
so.
officially a Nintendo.
Did anything ever make it?
Yeah,
to the
handheld.
Vita?
what's a
Series
Vita?
point.
Seriously.
Aw,
Who knows?
I kind of like the Vita.
Did you have one?
R.I.P. Yeah.
Yeah, Claire
Oh,
would,
did you?
Claire would have
did.
beef with you, Dan, about that because she loves the Vita.
The only other one I think worth mentioning is Monster Hunter X, which came out both on 3DS and on Switch in Japan. That has
Yep.
not been localized.
So everyone was trying to. That was one of the big arguments. Like, why PS4? Sony or Capcom. Like, why would Capcom release it for PS4 and not for like Switch? Their big, huge new. If they didn't want to risk alienating their Japanese audience,
Yeah.
make it on handheld and console.
It was such a mysterious console
It-
then, though, because
it
they
was,
they
and,
started developing
well,
this a long time ago.
The
I
thing
presume.
about it too, from my understanding, a lot of this hasn't been fully confirmed because they won't release the details of it. But there's rumor that PS4 that Sony had a contract with Capcom way ahead of time. Like when Monster Hunter World first started in development, they didn't even know what console it was going to be for yet. Sony approached them and was like, they knew that Nintendo was coming out with the new Switch and that Sony was going to have to compete with the Switch. So they came to Capcom and was like, whatever new title you guys are working on, make sure it's for PlayStation and not, like, we will pay you and give you this contract to make sure that it is not for a Nintendo console. And
that's a rumor or like just hearsay.
It's a little bit of a hearsay
theorizing.
rumor. It makes a lot of sense. It's something that can't ever be confirmed because neither Sony nor Capcom will ever
Of course.
confirm or deny that happened.
Right.
But the fact is there is proof that Sony approached Capcom way in the early development of Monster Hunter, around the time when the Nintendo Switch was announced to be in work. So I'm not surprised. They did try and make that up because Capcom had a relationship with Nintendo and they didn't want to necessarily like screw that up over their newest title. So they did release, as a way of kind of making it up to Nintendo, they released their Monster Hunter Double Cross on Switch.
Right. Okay.
Which is a great game. I think it's I haven't played much of it, but from what I've seen, that was one of the more popular titles as well.
And they didn't localize it, which I mean, they probably didn't want to throw it out there against Monster Hunter World,
No,
which was
yeah,
on the
absolutely.
way, which makes sense. And they were really positioning that as the title that's going to get the West more interested in the series. So
Absolutely, it was more for people who really liked the Switch and didn't want to have to buy a PS4, or for people who really liked Double Cross or whatever.
yeah. So I also compared Monster Hunter sales to Street Fighter sales, and then I also pulled up Resident Evil sales because I really wanted to kind of figure out what this means for the future of Capcom.
Hang on, did you pull up Street Fighter 6 or
All of Street Fighter.
Oh man.
I've got numbers for the whole series. I won't mention all of them. Street Fighter 2, of course, is the best-selling game in that franchise's history. It sits at 19 million. Most of them, though, hover in the 1 to 5 million range.
Oof.
The next big one would be Street Fighter 4, which is a more recent entry, and that one's about 8.5 million.
Okay.
So, I mean, even taking those numbers into consideration, World is on track to surpass those.
More than it's already expected that with the release of their PC version, no matter how far away it is, there will be another resurgence of people playing,
I'm gonna buy
especially
it.
because by the time the PC release comes out, we will have gotten a whole bunch of free content that will probably be just included, as well as I have to assume, and rumors are flying about this too, but I have to assume Capcom's got it planned for another big release to go along and coincide with the PC release. A lot of people are saying G-Rank, that aforementioned G-Rank thing, will be released alongside the PC release.
That seems like a really long ways out. But
And they've planned it out. The only thing that we have absolutely 100% confirmed by Capcom themselves is the release in spring of a new monster, Devil Joe, which is a monster that has been in previous titles. It's a fan favorite.
It eats its own tail.
It does it really?
It eats its own tail to regain health.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've played the game where Devil Joe comes from. It was in Monster Hunter 3, but I never got far enough in the game because it was all way, way, way high rank. It was closed and locked behind many, many walls of playtime that I just didn't have when I was a kid. But I've seen it. I've heard rumors. It's a terrifying monster, and I'm very excited for it to be coming to World as well.
I'll mention Resident Evil briefly. 2 and 4 are the big ones, 6 and 8 million units sold respectively. So I guess my point in doing this is, what do you think this means for the future of Capcom? Do you think they're going to quadruple down on Monster Hunter from here on out and make it one of their staples and have it be predominantly a home console game going forward.
I would like that, but I
I
don't
mean, I don't think so.
know.
Resident
what's your take,
Evil
Dan?
and Street Fighter are both iconic video game genres. Even if they don't have as much of the sales behind them, it seems silly to leave any of that on the table, right?
Well,
and I mean,
let me tell you how Street Fighter 5 did in relation to 4, because those series in a lot of ways are kind of waning.
They are.
I think Resident Evil 7 actually did pretty well, but it was kind of like a reinvention. Apparently, World proves that reinvention is kind of a thing that they're good at this point, and maybe they'll do that with all their franchises, and that will, be what keeps them going long term. I'm pulling up the Street Fighter numbers again real quick here. Say something, Dan.
I mean,
Say words, Dan.
I can do that. Obviously, it seems like a good idea for them to definitely invest in like Monster Hunter stuff, but I also think that they can't just release a new Monster Hunter every year or anything like that, right? Because otherwise, people get burnt out on it. I mean, what do people think of Call of Duty? So they'll need other things to put in between.
Mm-hmm.
Not every game is going to be a hit, but as you pointed out, if they're starting to reinvent these franchises, like why couldn't they do that for Street Fighter?
Although, I mean, Street Fighter 4 was that essentially about 8 years ago. When did Street Fighter 4 come out?
I
It
mean,
was a while ago.
if it's been 8 years, then why not do it again?
Let's go with that. Yeah, I guess so.
The other thing about Monster Hunter, Dan's right. They can't just throw out a new one every year, especially because Monster Hunter has always been the kind of game where they will continually offer up support. Like we've been saying, they do DLC throughout the year. They have a planned lineup of DLC that they will be releasing for at least the next year to keep people playing the game. Monster Hunter's always been kind of a like lifestyle game where it's not ever something you leave. You put it down for a little while, and then as soon as something new pops up again, you pick it back up and you play it again for like another month.
And the thing is, all the lifestyle games that it competes with are League of Legends, Dota 2, World of Warcraft. All of these games that all have basically alternate monetization models, whereas Monster Hunter is just buy the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I feel like they're going to need those other franchises, at least for now, just to keep things fresh and interesting.
Yeah, all other types of monetization that they have is insanely negligible, if any. They have released some paid DLC, but it's not actually DLC. It's cosmetic stuff. It's like if you want a new face paint, or if you want, they released a pack of the emotes from the old games. Like if you wanted your character to do emotes from classic games, it's like $3.
They released the
nothing.
doll outfit from Bloodborne for like one of the characters.
That's
in
cool.
The game.
Okay, really?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
But
do you fear at all that going forward they will dig deeper into monetization?
I
because
don't
they
think
can.
so. If they do, I'm pretty confident that knowing Capcom and their history, it will just be things like that. It'll be aesthetics, it'll be emotes, it'll be more stickers, stamps, things that you can throw up in chat.
And the purpose of it would probably just be to make sure the game lasts just longer enough so that then 3-4 years down the line they can release their next big Monster Hunter Worlds.
I think they've learned from not only Marvel vs. Capcom, but also their newest Street Fighter game that people don't want to pay for all the characters that you announce for the game that should come in the game behind a paywall. And hopefully they'll just be like, okay, people don't want this.
Capcom in general has been pretty good about that.
And the success of cosmetics being like the primary thing you can buy in so many games now, there's no reason not to do that. As long as you can find a good way to implement that.
Elder Scrolls Online has been making so much money via microtransactions right now, and nobody cares because every single bit of... They even have loot boxes, the dreaded, terrible loot boxes.
Yeah, but
and
everyone does.
Everything in there, though, is cosmetic.
Yeah.
It's all like different mount. None of the mounts have different stats. Like it's all cosmetic, and with so many big titles, trying to realize... Especially after the whole EA fiasco.
We've been into that on the show.
Oh, yeah, we have.
It's just...
And then some.
Everyone is starting to realize that people are fine paying for cosmetics and will. Like, it's not a matter... Like, I think video game companies have been so afraid of only offering cosmetics because it's like, well, if players realize they don't need these, they won't buy them, and that's just not true. Like,
Yeah,
I know
there's plenty
so
of
many
evidence
people.
unless it's horse armor.
Yeah, who will just
The
shill out.
original piece of DLC.
Yeah, they'll
Well-
just shill out their entire wallet for cosmetics
When-
because they will.
Yeah.
When there's another ESO update, then when there's another expansion, we'll hit you up and bring you back on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There
in
was
the
a recent one
meantime-
actually,
Yeah,
but I
no,
haven't played it.
How we
In the
doing on
meantime-
time, Scotty?
We
We're there.
are done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that?
Just like
it
that.
hasn't been an hour.
It
You're
has
kidding
indeed.
me.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, sorry, I can't.
I didn't
Someone
even.
else
So
take
Scott's choking to death on his own bodily fluids.
Okay,
but,
good, I'm back.
We're here.
Yes.
Recover.
We're done.
Yeah, we are done. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you to NWCZ Radio for, of course, providing their studio. They're amazing. Check us out on the social medias. Zach has all of our social medias: Facebook, YouTube. We are on iTunes now as well.
Yep.
All
You got
Video
that
Game
Twitter
Pharmacy.
action.
Yep, on Twitter we also are.
Oh, there's a
doing,
Twitch. Twitch
we're
channel
doing
now
more
that
Twitch stuff. Me
I
and
think right now just auto hosts us. But
me,
check us
Dan,
out.
and Torsen have all been streaming a lot more, and we're gonna try
Mhm.
and be taking on the actual podcast stream here soonish. But we
Yeah.
gotta get ourselves settled first. But anyways, yeah, I think that's it. I'm Scott. We have Brittin,
See you guys.
Dan,
Later.
Zach,
Yep. Bye, guys.
and Torsen. Thank
Toodles.
you very, very much for being here
Hey,
and talking
no
about
problem.
Monster
Thank
Hunter.
you so much for having me. It was a
Absolutely,
real pleasure.
we will have you
Mhm.
again
Yeah.
soon.
Way
Awesome.
better than Brooks.
Yeah, way better than Brooks.
No contest,
Brooksy,
really.
if you're listening to this,
Oh, and he will.
And he will.
Yeah,
At work, and he'll tell us.
absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening to VGRx. We will see you guys next week. Bye bye.
See ya.
The pharmacy is now closed. Is now closed. Is now closed.